Healthcare for your pets. Pet care is a lot like human healthcare in that it's something you don't want to have to think about, you're not sure which insurance policy is the best, and it really feels like you're being scammed. And if you don't own a pet and you're thinking there is no way he's gonna make me care about anything having to do with pet healthcare, I get that. And I never thought I'd care about this either until this. This is my girlfriend's cat, Rolo. He has a condition called pleural effusion, where there is constantly fluid that builds up around his lungs, making it near impossible to breathe if left untreated. Rolo is 14 pounds, and it's like someone is balancing a cinder block on his little chest. It's so hard for him to breathe that he's lost weight because pausing his breath long enough to swallow food was like briefly suffocating. So it was time for the vet, which can be super expensive, but Rolo has pet insurance, so it's okay, right? Let's focus on that for a minute. In the US, only 2 to 3% of pet owners have insurance for their pets, even though about 67% of the pet owning population say they consider their pet a member of the family. Now, this disparity is partly because there are certain human considerations that we somewhat arbitrarily don't extend to animals, but pets also go without care and insurance for the same reason humans do. It costs a bunch of money. Worthwhile pet coverage comes with paying higher premiums, which are often unaffordable. If you're lucky, your company may offer pet insurance as an employee benefit, but only about 10% of employers are providing this bonus. So, if you decide to get pet insurance, what are you actually looking at? Lemonade and Pumpkin are two highly rated pet insurance companies. I decided to get a free quote from them along with the insurance that the ASPCA offers for a healthy adult cat with no pre-existing conditions, because literally none of these companies offer pre-existing conditions. And here's what I found. All three plans start at roughly $50 to $60 a month and cover more or less the same diagnostics, blood tests, x-rays, CT scans, things like that, also covering things like emergency care and surgery, medications. Now for about an extra $10 a month, all three plans entitled me to coverage for visits related to illness or accidents. Wasn't getting that before. But after that, I'm asked to choose between different packages for additional coverage. Essentially, I have to add another 10 to 25 for any kind of preventative coverage. So wellness exams, a few vaccines. Lemonade gives you one heartworm or one FELV-FIV test. Hope you don't need both in the same year. The plans cover 80 to 90% of the bill, but there are deductibles ranging from $250 to $500, and there are annual limits. So if your cat needs to undergo a pricey procedure, insurance will max out at some point. Dental isn't covered by Lemonade or ASPCA, and none of them cover spaying or neutering. And the big thing is that the special packages they offer for extra protection are actually necessities. So your pet isn't fully protected unless you purchase them. It's not even that the coverage is all bad, not saying that at all, or that it's wildly expensive, it's not. But they do encourage you to save a little bit of money for a lot less coverage. For example, Pumpkin, $51 a month for a $7,000 limit on treatment, $75 a month for no limit at all. So what all that means is I'm paying $50 to $70 a month, and I have to spend $250, maybe $500 before my insurance even kicks in. And the thing my pet needs may not even be covered because maybe I was just looking to get the cheapest insurance, which it turned out maybe it was a mistake. And if I reach that cap of say $7,000 within a year, I have to wait until my insurance renews before they will start coverage again. But let's say for argument's sake, then I'm happy with my insurance, as many people are. I have the $70 a month and I can swing a $250 deductible. So when I get an invoice like this for $6,000, I think that's a lot of money, but my insurance is gonna help me out with it. This was Rolo's first invoice to drain the fluid in his chest wall after he was rushed to an emergency vet clinic. But even with insurance, this balance had to be paid in full at the time of the visit because pet care and insurance work differently than it does for us. You see, with human insurance, you have in-network and out-of-network doctors. And if you go to a doctor that takes your insurance will kick in when it comes time to pay for your visit. With pet insurance, you are responsible for the full cost up front, and your insurance reimburses you the amount that they are responsible for covering. The only company I could find that doesn't work this way is Trupanion, but they're not accepted at every vet. So what does this mean for people and their pets? Well, that $6,000 invoice you saw earlier had to be paid up front. And when Rolo had to be rushed back 2 weeks later for the same issue, he would have been denied treatment if that $929 wasn't available at the time of his visit. If you get into a serious car accident or suffer a heart attack, you can't be denied medical care. But animal hospitals are not required to treat pets with medical emergencies, as there is no system in place to reimburse veterinary care. Vets are actually not reimbursed for most things, like medications and medical supplies, so they charge you directly. And I'm sure there are generous vets who will give your sick animal treatment anyway if they're able to, but I'm gonna guess that a vet's ability to use their discretion is increasingly constrained by the corporate consolidation of veterinary care. Mars Inc. is a major pet food manufacturer. They now own vet clinics like Blue Pearl, VCA, and Banfield Pet Hospitals. And it's usually a negative thing when your healthcare provider also has to answer to corporate. Now, there is an interesting pet insurance alternative called POP. Wait for this one. For $24 a month, you have access to a $3,000 emergency fund for your pet. So if they choke on something, ingest something toxic, or wind up with a really bad injury and you need to rush them to the vet, you can access this fund and POP will directly pay your vet so you can avoid that huge bill. Sounds great. I just had a horrible experience with them. I could not get anyone on the phone or video and cannot wait to take my dog into the emergency room. Finally, when I got a hold of someone via video, they asked me to send a picture of my dog who had just gone into the emergency room. I had to give my phone to the vet tech to have her take a picture of my dog and his gums. I was then told by the person at POP that I no longer qualified for the $3,000 because I took my dog into the emergency room. His visit ended up costing me $5,000. POP recognizes the deficiencies of standard pet insurance and has cleverly capitalized on it by preying on pet owners who are in distress over their pets but can't afford to foot the bill. This may be the greatest scam of all because, as the person commenting expressed, if you don't get approval from one of their vets before you go to the emergency vet clinic, it won't be covered. You disqualify yourself. And of course, that's if you get approved. Same story with my dog as the others. Vet didn't think it was an emergency. Didn't approve the insurance. The vet who examined her in person said she needed to be treated or she was at risk of death due to dehydration and other complications relating to a dog having a fever of 105 for 2 weeks. It's hard to believe they're allowed to operate. Now, as I understand, it isn't unheard of to get a payment plan from a vet, but it seems to be rare and secretly reserved for longtime customers. Plus, a payment plan will likely disqualify you from being reimbursed from your insurance company beyond the first payment. And so the only other option to pay for care is, of course, credit. Whether it be a credit card or what's called Care Credit or Scratch Pay, specifically for vet visits. If you can't pay in full, you can put it on a credit card, and if you have enough credit to actually pay, then you're good. You can pay the installments or your insurance will reimburse you. But if you don't have enough credit to pay, or if you didn't get approved for Care Credit because your credit score sucks, then to the question, what stage of capitalism is this? The answer becomes the one where your dog has to die because you're still paying off an art history degree. Okay, so what the fuck do I do if I have a pet who has many quality years left but needs an expensive surgery, my insurance is maxed out where I never had any, and I can't put it on a credit card? Well, you do exactly what humans do. GoFundMe, like the one we set up for Rolo. Yes, America is the greatest and freest country in the world, as we all know, and no freedom is as beloved in this country as the freedom to die from not having enough money. And so, what could be a greater expression of the love we have for animals than by extending this ultimate American right to our pets? Yeah, your dog might not have a passport, but she's gonna get to experience what it's like to ration healthcare according to income, just like us human Americans. So, if you'd like to donate to Rolo's GoFundMe, the link is in the description, and it would be much appreciated because Rolo should have many more years of quality life ahead of him. But for now, unless you just have the cash, these are the options that we are left with when it comes to caring for our pets. Hopefully this will change, but until insurance costs or veterinary care becomes more affordable, or the system of paying for vet care is changed or standardized in some fundamental way, many pet owners will be forced to choose between care for their pets and the thing you do if GoFundMe doesn't work. Economic euthanasia. Now, economic euthanasia is a euphemism for when someone can't afford to pay for a treatment, so you just end the animal's life instead. In 2014, a woman named Vivian Knoll said she had little choice but to euthanize her injured 2-year-old pit bull when a Milford, Michigan emergency clinic sought to set up a payment plan in advance. Knoll worked part-time and didn't have $3,000 for surgery and stabilization fees, and said she wouldn't qualify for financing such as scratch pay. Still, she told Home Life that she was willing to go broke for her dog and offered an alternative payment plan to the vet. She says the vet clinic turned her down. At the Thomas Beath Veterinary Clinic in Fredericksburg, Virginia, 2/3 of the pets put to sleep every week are euthanized for economic reasons, clinic owners say. There is no such thing as veterinary Medicare, and of course, most people don't have thousands of dollars to spend on emergencies for themselves, let alone a pet. So the burden sometimes falls on nonprofits and crowdfunding. And for Rolo, he's currently undergoing a CT scan estimated at $4,200. Now, with the added burden of pet insurance caps, his insurance no longer covers these costs. If nothing is detected, the next course of action is surgery. The broader point here is that this is a system that doesn't need to function this way, and the parts of the system, like insurance, that are meant to lubricate the absurd costs of vet treatment sometimes still don't keep you from making the choice between going into actual debt or just killing an animal you're close to. This is not to present this topic as having the same gravity and urgency as that of human healthcare. That's not my goal at all. Really, this is one more symptom of our greater economic dysfunction. But the thought that a wealthy person can pay for whatever treatment their pet needs to live a long life, but the kids of working class parents are going to come for one last car ride to the vet so they can spend a few extra minutes with the family dog before they drop it off for euthanizing. I don't know. That makes me kind of mad.